Here we have Harvey, who's organised this day together with us all. 50 years since we left Looe. Harvey?
Hello everybody, I'm here with John Grimer and our friends from school, and we're all reminiscing about what it was like at school. And for me, school was a bit of a struggle. I couldn't do anything, I could never learn anything. I didn't even know that I'd taken the 11 plus, let alone failed it. So, going to school, I didn't even hardly realise that I was in the A stream at the school, but there were lots of other kids. And life went on. But it's only after you've left school that as you look back you kind of remember things, and teachers were to be avoided and to stay out of trouble if you could. And as the memories form and come back, the memory that I have of all the teachers, the one that stands out above all of the others as being helpful in my life has been John Grimer. And there's a few stories that relate to that as to why it is. And I'd been out, we used to have to write an essay probably every week, I can't remember, and I always used to get 3 or 4 or 5 out of 10 because my spelling was so bad and my writing was okay. But one time I'd been out on the farm at the weekend and I'd been driving the tractor and it was noisy as hell and the seagulls were all around, and I'd sat down for lunch and I was leaning against the rear tyre and I'd eaten whatever I was eating, and pasty probably. And I was sitting there smoking a cigarette. And all the seagulls had stopped flying around and the tractor wasn't making a noise. And I was smoking away at the age of 13 or whatever it is, as you did in those days. And it had gone quiet. And I thought, that's nice, very pleasant. So the next time we had to write an essay, I thought, what can I write about? And I thought, oh, I'll write about driving the tractor and what I was doing and how you ploughed the field and all the seagulls. And then I said that I sat down for my lunch and finished that and had a cigarette, listening to the silence. And I wrote in my essay, listening to the silence, and carried on. So we hand it all in, it comes back, red lines for every bloody thing, as usual. 3 out of 10, and a great big line through, "You can't listen to silence!" exclamation mark, in a red pen. And I sat there, bloody annoyed as ever. I kept thinking, I think you can listen to silence. If you're listening and you can't hear anything, or hear nothing, you're listening to silence. "Excuse me, sir." "Yes, Bowden." "I think you can listen to silence." "What? Come out here, boy." So I trundled out with my book and present it to John, and he reads it again and he looks at me, and I said, "If you stop, sir, and if you're listening and you can't hear nothing, you're listening to silence." "Huh, Bowden, you're right, boy." Great big tick. And a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, I can't remember now. But
probably made the 3 into an 8.
Oh, right. And I thought, oh. And I went back to my desk and I thought, that was great, okay. And I remember that, not particularly at the incident, but in memory, the fact that he listened to me and he recognised that he'd made a mistake and that I was a real person. I could actually talk to an adult and influence what they thought. And it created another imprint.
Can you remember that story, John?
No, I can't, but I can remember an anthology where there was a poem on very, very short lines that went, "So beautiful is the stillness of the silence."
Lovely.
Well, after that, life had carried on, and I'd been writing, because I'm ambidextrous, I practiced writing with my left hand one time, and I decided, oh, it'd be nice to write a whole essay with my left hand. So I wrote the essay with my left hand and got a bloody great cross through it all. Appalling handwriting, 3 out of 10 again. And I said, "Excuse me, sir, I wrote this with my left hand." "What do you mean, writing it with your left hand? You're supposed to write with your right hand. Go down and see the headmaster." bloody hell, I thought that was pretty clever, writing with the left hand.
Absolutely.
So I'm bloody hell, so out the classroom, walking down the corridor, into the stairwell, and just as I got to the top, John Simmons comes bounding up. Bowden, what are you doing? I'm coming down to see you, sir. What for? To show you this, sir. And he looked at it and he's, well, that's very naughty, Bowden. And then with that, John Grimer came running around the corner and stopped. Oh. And they looked at each other and they discussed me for a minute. And John Grimer said to Mr. Simmons, it's all right, Mr. I'll handle this. And we walked down the corridor and he said, Harvey, he said, actually that was quite good with your left hand. He said, I shouldn't have sent you down to the headmaster. And it was all quietly forgotten. And I don't know if he'd give me a better score. I never wrote in my left hand again, but at least I thought, hell, this guy once again changed his mind. And so that went on. And then the final thing was right as we got to the end of school, we had a debate in the library. I didn't know what a debate was. I never even heard of debates. That the fact that you had a motion and somebody argued one thing and somebody argued another, and the motion was, is there a God? Well, I'm an atheist and always had been, but Marilyn Pern was very strict Catholic. And so we all sat down in the library and all the class are out there and Marilyn's on one side, John Grimer's in the middle, the adjudicator, and I'm on the other side. And just before we started this debate, he told us, oh, by the way, we want you to speak up well because a school inspector's come to visit us and I would like to impress this school inspector. Okay, didn't mean an awful lot, but thinking about it afterwards, I thought, oh, he was looking for a good show. And so I remember this bloke sitting at the back of the library just watching events, you see. And it all came up and he said, well, before we start, hands up everybody who believes there's a God. And 60% of the hands went up, or 80% of the hands went up. I think it was 80 or something. And hands up all those people that believe there isn't a God. And 20% or whatever went up. And I thought, oh, well, I've lost that then, haven't I? But anyway, whatever. So we did our opening speeches, the debate went on, and I talked about this, that, and the other, and it was thing. And at the end of it, the vote was taken again. And you still won, but you won by a lesser margin. Yeah. It had gone from 55 to 45 or 60-40 or something. And I thought, oh, well, it was all good fun. And afterwards, John came up to me and he said, Harvey, he said, you were born with a silver tongue. And I looked at him and I thought, what does he mean by that? And he said, look, Harvey, he said, if you can't write, talk. Just talk. And I thought, oh, okay. And didn't really think much about it at the time. But I was so confused what a silver tongue was. You know, I'd heard of a silver spoon in your mouth, but I'd never heard of a silver tongue. But later on in life, as events moved on, I learnt how to spell with a computer, but I had to give talks and speeches and presentations and things. And I keep remembering, if you can't write, just talk. And just keep talking to the people. And I finally cottoned on what a silver tongue was, that you had that ability. And it was John that as the events opened up in life, that my memory would give me the confidence to actually go forward. Mm. So John, I have an awful lot to thank you for over the years. It inspired my life as it did all the rest of the others here. And I'm pretty certain that had it not been for your enthusiasm to encourage people, that we wouldn't have achieved as much in life as we've done. So the reason I'm more than delighted to repay a tiny bit of my debt to you in a bit of alcohol and keep you in the manner to which you like to become accustomed, it's been a real pleasure, John, to have known you and to have that ability and to have everybody come and join you today in celebrating your teaching years and give you happy memories.
Well, Harvey's comment about the silver tongue wasn't very original from me, because after the debate in question, the inspector, who gave me a very good write-up, said, by the way, he said, who is that silver-tongued young man who just spoke on atheism. I said, oh, he's one of my pupils. I said, he's a very good actor. He said, he'll go far in life. And how right he was. And ever since when, I'm so grateful for Harvey organising this mini reunion, but even more grateful for his beneficence to me over the last, heaven knows how many years. Years and years ago, when I could get up and walk and was able-bodied, I found out every so often there was a little half bottle of whiskey on my doorstep, and I could not for the life of me find where this was coming from. It looked as though it had been bought at Spa, so I went to Spa and said, does anyone keep coming in here and buying the odd half bottle of whiskey? Oh, several people, they said. I said, well, please let me know in future if you recognise anyone. And I went and inquired, but they didn't, but the little half bottles kept coming. And I went back to Spa and said, if you do find out who it was, tell him not to leave half bottles, but to leave whole ones. And sure enough, whole bottle started appearing on my doorstep every month or two. And the penny only eventually clicked when I noticed that these bottles coincided with Harvey's visit to his mother down at Plaidy. And that's how I found him out. And the latest donation came only 2 or 3 days ago. And I keep it by my chair here. And it helps me through my waking hours.
And helps you with the sleeping hours, I should think.
Yes, indeed.
Completely.
Yeah.
Is that you?
Sorry.
No, it could be me.
Perfect. Well, thank you, John. That's been a real
Turned off.
pleasure. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.